All right, our next guest needs no introduction.
I want to make sure that products are safe for people. Whether or not I think you always have the choice to use it.
On your feet and welcome Bigtree to the stage.
How's everyone doing? Awesome. Fantastic. What an amazing crowd. What an amazing room. What an amazing day. I mean, when Jared invited me, I said, Jared, look at this lineup you have. You do not need me at this thing. I mean, everybody that taught me everything I know, you've already heard from today. So I guess I'll just recap. But seriously, you know, one of the things that I realized even last night when we were having the VIP dinner, I said, I think tomorrow is going to be a lot like church. Because, and a couple of people come up to me and said, you know, this whole mixing of religion and Christianity and health, like it's somewhat disconcerting. And what I want to tell you is that none of us called each other. None of us planned what we're going to talk about today. In fact, we're all so self-absorbed, we rarely know what each other's doing at all. In fact, Mickey Willis, I saw walking around back there. Mickey lives like 5 blocks away from me. And the last time I saw him, I think was like in New York City when we were at some other event. I never see him. But all that to say, we are all coming to the same conclusion, no matter what direction we came from, whether we started as a television producer like I did, or a doctor or a scientist. We are realizing that this is something much, much bigger than just science, medicine, health. This truly is a battle between light and darkness. And so I'm going to talk about the same thing because it's the same conclusion I've come to. Let me look at this. How many remember in the Bible it says, Jesus says that if you have the faith, the grain of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain? How many people have heard that? I've never understood what that meant. I mean, it seems like, what does that weigh? Like, do I have like a quarter of an ounce of faith? Certainly I must have that. I can move mountains. But I said it recently during a talk, and I was talking to a friend afterwards, and I want to share with you a little bit of a different perspective on that, because I've been reflecting a lot on my life and this journey of the last almost 10 years. I think I've been to this event, 6 or 7 years, where my life has just been on this incredible rocket ship. I like to say I went out to try and learn how to surf and take a surf lesson, and I accidentally caught a 60-foot wave, and I've been hanging on for dear life ever since. But what I think, in my experience, another way to look at this is, if you want to move a mountain and you keep staring at that mountain, it's never going to move. All the fear, the obvious drawbacks and limitations you have from actually doing that stare you in the face every day. But what I want to talk about today is my journey, because I get a lot of credit for having achieved amazing things. I didn't achieve any of it. The only thing I did is at a certain point in my life, I started just making the next obvious step. In fact, just moving something as small as a mustard seed like that. That's all any of this is. It's truly what I believe is happening here. We spend way too much time in awe of what we're up against instead of the daily practice of what's next. Let me just keep moving little grains of sand. Let me just keep doing what I can do right now. And before you know it, you look up, and Robert Kennedy Jr. is HHS Secretary of the United States of America. So let's get into this. This is me. I'm the oldest. That's my mom, Norma Bigtree, my little brother, my Shad and Cintisha. I am one of those people that never wins a pity party when people are complaining about their parents. I had amazing parents. My dad's off warrioring somewhere in this picture, so he's not there. They're still together, take no drugs. They're in their 80s. They're so healthy. My dad still jogs further than I do every single day. But my parents raised me differently. They were 60s hippies. They marched in Chicago. They taught me to fight for freedom of speech. My heroes were Abby Hoffman, the Chicago 7, and my required books were 1984 and Brave New World. Go figure what happened to me. I don't know. But my parents said to me from the moment we were born, you are created in the image and likeness of God. There is no authority over your life other than God, and your connection to that, your intuition, is all that is going to matter to you. You will learn to question authority. There is no one that will ever tell you what to do. If it doesn't move you, then you don't do it. They taught us to be leaders. And they said to me, my brother and sister, we are raising you to change the world. Every day. I want to be clear because my dad was always worried. He's like, I don't want you to become sort of some egomaniac because it's not going to be you. I want to explain something. You are no better than any other person on this earth. But we are teaching you to appreciate how powerful your life is. It's a training no one else is getting, and so it's going to give you an advantage. Be good. Make the world a better place. Now, I don't know if that's what did it. I don't know if I was socialized. Honestly, I don't know what puts me here. Was it my parents? Was I born in this? Was I chosen by God? What I will tell you is I believe we are all chosen by God. We are in this room right now for a reason. Today, you moved that mustard seed and decided to be here. So let's figure out why. All right. Well, I never went to a doctor in my life. My parents didn't vaccinate me. My parents, we barely went to any practitioners at all. If I happened to wipe out skiing, I'd see a chiropractor. Otherwise, my mom would say, your mind is everything. See yourself as whole, see yourself as healthy, and let your body do the rest. That's how I was raised. So when I ended up being a producer and winning an Emmy Award on the medical talk show The Doctors, my mom called me and said, what are you doing working on a medical talk show? You're like one of the only people on earth that's never been to a doctor in your entire life. And I remember saying to Mom, I don't really know, except that I came here to be Steven Spielberg. I want to be making movies. And somehow I've got this opportunity where I'm producing television and winning Emmy Awards and having a really great time doing it. And I said, Mom, all the stories I'm doing are challenging mainstream medicine. I mean, you know, I did a story a couple of weeks ago where the Cleveland Clinic's now using chiropractic, or this doctor's using acupuncture instead of anesthesia. And I'm challenging every time a drug is killing people, is getting recalled. I do a whole show on how dangerous that drug was and how was it on the market so long. And my producers don't know what I'm doing, except that I happen to be the highest rated producer on the show of 7 producers. So I get to do whatever story I want. Because as it turns out, that medical audience that was watching this show were curious about the things I was curious about. But ultimately, I did discover why I was on The Doctors, because I had this opportunity. I won't get into the miracles that came together to make this happen, except that I heard a story about a whistleblower inside the CDC that was claiming they were committing scientific fraud in the vaccine safety studies. I wanted that story so bad, and it was the only one my show, The Doctors, wouldn't let me go near. And I said a prayer, and within 30 seconds after that prayer began an introduction to Andy Wakefield. I got a call. I was introduced to Andy Wakefield. He was already working on this story and doing this movie, and I could go on and on about the miracles that made that happen, but there's more I want to talk about. I just remember in the moment when I was sitting in his basement, and I was watching Vaxxed in its current state where he thought it was finished. And I watched it all the way through. He put 10,000 documents next to me. They were all provided by the whistleblower, Dr. Thompson, Bill Thompson. And I watched it and I just thought, oh my God, this movie's got everything that's needed to change the world, except I don't think 10 people in the world will understand it. It's way too scientific. It's not telling enough of the personal stories. And I realized in that moment, my mom asked me, "Why are you working on a medical talk show?" And I said, it was for this. I've now been editing for 10 years, tens of thousands of hours of medicine and science, and turning into entertainment for the television. And that's exactly what this movie needs. It needs someone that knows how to get people to understand this and care. And I realized in that moment, not only am I qualified to make this movie what it's supposed to be, I think I'm actually the most qualified human being on earth. I'm the only kid I know that somehow never got vaccinated. That kid goes on to work on a medical talk show, the first of its kind to make science and medicine into entertainment. And now this guy whose reputation's been destroyed, that's trying to save children's lives, has found me, and we've come together. And I realized in that moment, for this, I was born. I have to believe we all have that moment. I have to believe every one of us has something we're here for. But my life changed from then on. Up until the moment I made Vaxxed, I'm a producer. When you're a producer, you've got to think of all the problems ahead. You got to look way ahead. You got to get it all ironed out, have it scripted so that you don't waste millions of dollars getting caught by surprise or a mistake or a weather problem or a car that's not working or that shot wasn't going to work. But the moment I started making Vaxxed and got in, decided I was going to do that, my wife's here today and my daughter that are joining us, but my wife supported me in making Vaxxed and walking away from my career. But the moment I stepped into Vaxxed, something changed. It took walking away from the career that I had. It took really stepping into faith, I guess, even though it was so clear to me that I was designed for this. Like I said, there was not a question. It was the easiest decision I've ever made. But from that moment on, I didn't know where it was going to go. I just knew it was going to be big. I knew it was important. And so I just was forced almost to every day just do the next right thing. And it was a tug of war with Andy, who was worried I was going to make it too entertaining and lose the science or lose the legal side. And we went every day, I'd meditate and I'd pray and say, God, help guide me to work with Andy so this film can be everything it can be. And I've done that ever since. And finally, when Vaxxed went out, we needed press. We had no money. The movie was made for no money. And we thought, well, how are we going to get recognized? How are we going to get this in the theaters? How are we going to get to the millions and billions of people across the world? I didn't realize that it was going to take getting kicked out of the Tribeca Film Festival.
To a firestorm over the film festival and a Hollywood star. The decision to run a controversial documentary about vaccines has Robert De Niro at the center of a big screen backlash. But late tonight, a new twist. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has more.
Tonight, the film festival Robert De Niro started under fire. The Hollywood heavyweight initially defending the screening of a controversial new film that many are characterizing as anti-vaccine.
Grievous harm to innocent children.
De Niro writing in a statement why this is important to the actor and his wife. Grace and I have a child with autism. This is very personal to me and my family, and I want there to be a discussion, though he isn't anti-vaccine. That statement generating backlash on Twitter, comments like disappointing and really irresponsible. The film is directed by Andrew Wakefield, who authored the faulty study that linked vaccines and autism. That report now retracted and Wakefield stripped of his medical license.
This film is just the truth as we have found it.
But the message from the medical community is clear.
This is one of those scientific questions that where science has provided an answer. Study after study have been done and have shown vaccines do not cause autism.
And late tonight, a reversal from the star. De Niro telling ABC News that after conferring with scientific experts, he's decided Vaxxed will be taken out of the Tribeca Film Festival, saying he does not believe it contributes to the discussion I had hoped for. Eva Pilgrim, ABC News, New York.
I remember when I watched that on television, there was about 5 minutes where all of my friends in Hollywood that had seen the film, I'd run it by them. They said, "You're crazy. This is going to destroy your career. Great movie, but it'll be the last movie you ever make." And I was watching that on the news. I thought, I guess they're right. That's it. I've left television, can't go back. I've just been kicked out of the Tribeca Film Festival. Nowhere to go now. Kicked out of the Tribeca Film Festival. I've been kicked out of the Tribeca Film Festival. I've never heard of that happening to anybody. Ever. That's like historic. Certainly I can make something out of that. And so we did. Headlines in every major newspaper, CNN, MSNBC. No one could talk about anything else. And the movie ended up being a worldwide sensation. We went theater to theater to theater for an entire year. Had a bus with Vaxxed written on the side of it. And at the second screening in New York, about 6 days after that ran, a theater said, we'll run it this week. I said, oh, it's not ready yet. The festival wasn't even for a month. They said, you were the biggest news story in media today. I don't know if it's going to be a big story in a month. You have a theater this week on Friday, if you want it or not. We took it, and we were off and running. But I said to that theater, and I want to do it now. I said, I wonder who is standing outside, lined up at this film. So would everyone with a vaccine-injured family member please stand up? Right now? Has anyone you know been vaccine injured? That night, the first time I asked it, 3/4 of the room stood up. And I ended up asking that question. You can go ahead and sit down, and I'm sorry that that's the reality we live in. I asked that question 3 shows a day, 5 days a week for an entire year, and 3/4 of the audience stood up. I knew I was making a film about an issue. I had no idea that there was an ocean of injury out there. So much pain. How had they gotten away with it? How was it possible? And so as we were traveling, we started interviewing people on this bus. Everywhere we went, they wanted to tell their story after the film. Can you bring up the slide for me, please? This was the bus we were on, but there was one interview that really changed this conversation for me forever. This is Colton.
Colton was a 13-year-old healthy, strong boy. He loved anything that has to do with an adrenaline rush. Motocross was his passion. We went to the doctor's office, and the doctor says, hey, he's the age that you should get the HPV vaccine. I said, okay. So he was administered the vaccine, and on the 3rd round, 2 weeks after, he started having a really bad neck ache. And then this is the last day he got to ride that big boy bike. And that day he came home, he was pale, starting to feel nauseous, really sore neck. It didn't feel good. He went to bed, and the next day I checked on him. He still didn't want to get out of bed. I just thought, man, you're just really weak and exhausted. And that evening, when he sat up to take a drink of water, he said, Mom, can you give that to me in my left hand? I can't use my right arm very good. It's weak. And he tried to lift up, and all of a sudden he just flopped back, and his head just hit the pillow, and I went, Colton, are you going paralyzed? They immediately took him down to Primary Children's Hospital in Salt Lake. When the doctor came out and asked me questions, they said, well, has he been sick? Has he had any changes or anything? I said, no, he hasn't been sick. He had the HPV vaccine on February 1st, and they went, oh, well, we'll be reporting that to VARS, and they did.
I did do a lot of sports, and it was my favorite. But now I have to sit on the sideline, just watch everybody. I'm angry that they're still giving out the vaccine. They don't care that people are getting hurt. It's a joke. You gotta do your research. Like, you can't just trust a doctor anymore.
Colton took his life because he felt like he was too big of a burden on his family. But as I was sitting watching Polly Tommy, my co-producer, do that interview, I was standing right there, and I was watching this tube in his throat and this box on the ground breathing for him. He could only answer a question after his lungs were filled with air by the box. And then he would get to speak. Kid who was a star athlete. And I stood there thinking of all the people that say those anti-vaxxers are going to bring back the iron lung. They're going to bring back paralytic diseases. And I was watching this kid and thinking, he's in an iron lung. You don't lay in a metal tube anymore. It's a box. We've modernized the equipment, only he isn't paralyzed because he didn't vaccinate. He isn't paralyzed because he got polio. He's paralyzed because he took a vaccine. And I ran home and started reading all the inserts of every vaccine, and almost every one of them, Guillain-Barré syndrome is a side effect, paralysis. Transverse myelitis is a side effect, paralysis. We didn't stop paralytic diseases, we're causing them. And it wasn't just autism, it became clear to me. It was all sorts of issues. It wasn't just the MMR. It could be Gardasil or any vaccine there was. So that's when I decided to start a bigger campaign. And as we pulled in one day to Mississippi, some people were bringing me in to meet with politicians. I want you to talk to our politicians. Sure, I'll try doing that. I've never done that before. As soon as I talked to the first senator, I got out of that room. I remember thinking, oh, wow, I like this. I'm good at this. I can talk people into stuff. So we kept coming back to Mississippi. I was getting closer and closer to returning their religious exemption. I could feel it. They hadn't been able to exempt out of the vaccine program since like the 1970s. They've been forcibly vaccinating their kids in Mississippi. And by the way, sickest state in the United States of America. So it wasn't really doing much for them other than making them sick. But one day I got a call. It was like 2018. I'd been at it 2 years. They said, they're going to let you talk to the health department. And the Senate Health Committee are all going to be in one room. I was like, wow. I mean, not just like one senator at a time. And I sat down and prayed that morning, what should I say? How do I take this to the next level with these guys? And it hit me, you're in the Bible Belt. Your dad was a minister. You should probably make a connection now. I had never done it before. I'd only talked about science, only been on the science of vaccines and all the issues. So I went that day, and this is what I said. You can bring it up. I had this exact slide. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created the male and female, he created them. I told you we're all coming to the same conclusion. Get ready for it. You are created in the image and likeness of God. You are created perfect. And as the story goes, Adam and Eve are created together. They're there. They're in Eden. And God gives them everything. Clean water, perfect air, and dominion over animals, all the most amazing vegetables and fruits you could ever dream of. Shangri-La, heaven, Eden, only one rule. I've given you everything, just one little rule. Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, lest you shall surely die. Remember asking my dad, I don't understand, Dad. Don't we want to be knowledgeable? Don't we want to know good and evil? Isn't that how you're raising me? He said, well, yes, but this is a little bit different than that. This is believing you know good and evil. This is about believing you know as much as God. This is about something called hubris or ego. God can count every hair on your head and every person on this planet. I would go on to say God knows every single bacteria, and you have millions of viruses and bacteria crawling on you right now. There is a beautiful dance that every doctor that's come up here is happening in your microbiome. Viruses, bacteria. Don't ever think that you understand how this works well enough that you'll start killing one or two or three and say, look how powerful we are. Look what we've done here. And not mess up the entire thing. So I said to the room, as I'm saying to you now, if you look at the image of Adam and Eve, can you bring it back up, please? God leaves them in Eden for some time. Doesn't say how long. All we know is the part where God comes back to Eden. And he looks for Adam and Eve, and they peek out from behind the trees, and they're wearing masks. They're covering themselves. They're hiding. And he says, who told you you were naked? Who told you you weren't perfect? I gave you everything. I made you in my image. Who took away your belief? Who made you think you weren't whole? Yeah, same thing the health department did that morning. We're not playing around, folks. Pharmakia is not a joke. This is the most powerful religion in the world today. Nothing close. Not Christianity, not Islam, not Judaism. I don't care how often you go to church. If a doctor tells you you have cancer, you forget everything and you bow down to this God because you are afraid. Because as has been said many times today, you were taught to believe in this. You were taught that this is science, but what we do at church is faith. I shouldn't even call this a religion because it's not. It's a cult. It's a demented, sick cult. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. This cult actually gave us a brand new original sin. It got rid of any idea that maybe you want to be a better person. No, you have an original sin you're born with. On the first day of life here in America, inside of 24 hours, hello, welcome to the world, gasp for your first breath, and here comes your first sexually transmitted disease, hepatitis B. I mean, hold on a second. This is the most demented thing you could possibly imagine. A sexually transmitted disease you will only come in contact with if you're sharing heroin needles or sleeping with prostitutes. Full stop. The only way. One other way, if your mom happens to have hepatitis B, what happens to be about 0.5% of mothers ever. And every mother gets a blood test, so why do this? Why do this to our children? Why inject them? Why do they need to have a sexually transmitted disease on their first day of life? I want everyone to learn to do this. All you have to do is type in FDA licensed vaccines. If you want to know anything about the vaccines, your doctor's not going to hand it to you because your doctor doesn't want you to know. Why? Because they don't know. They're stupid. Full stop. But you can type it in, and it'll have a whole list of all the vaccines. This is Recombavax HB. This is one of the 2 hepatitis Bs that's given on day 1 of life. Brace yourself for your science against religion, because here it comes. Here is science. In every one of these, it has a package insert right there. Click on package insert. You can read all the ingredients, all the side effects, everything there. But every time at 6.1, it tells you how the science was done, how the clinical trials that establish safety are done. And in this one, you'll find 3 clinical studies of 434 doses were administered to 147 healthy infants and children up to 10 years of age, who were monitored for 5 days after each dose. And there's no placebo group. Let me just take this back. You know how many times there's been studies, vax versus unvax studies, like 600 homeschooled kids or 2,000 kids, and they'll say the study was too small. It wasn't statistically powered. But they've decided to inject your day 1 old baby with a disease that was only tested on 147 children. Let's be honest, right? FDA isn't doing this study. The company that's going to make the billions of dollars off this is. So when it says infants and children up to 10 years of age, You're running the study. You all have businesses. If no one's looking, how many of those kids are closer to like 10 years old versus 1 day old? How many think? Of the 147, how many were actually 1 day infants, if any? They are doing no science. 5 days. So if the baby dies on day 6, they can literally say to you, we didn't see any death in the trials that we did. We did robust science on the hepatitis B vaccine, and we didn't see death. If any of these children end up having autism 2 or 3 years later, which is about how long it would take to find out, well, gee, in the science, we never saw it. We've done robust mountains and mountains of studies have been done that we've never seen it. It's anecdotal. This is how this game is played. And then you can just go down to 6.2, the very next one, on the actual side effects once they rush it onto the market. This is all that people start complaining about. And if it has the potential to be causal, meaning so many people are complaining, it lands on this list. Just under nervous system disorders. What I tell you, Guillain-Barré syndrome, paralysis, multiple sclerosis, exacerbation of multiple sclerosis, myelitis, including transverse myelitis, paralysis, seizure, febrile seizures, peripheral neuropathy, Bell's palsy, again, paralysis, all the way to the end, encephalitis, brain swelling. Any idiot that tells you that vaccines don't cause autism, let's just be honest with each other for a second, okay? A mom said it really clearly to me. Vaccine didn't cause my child's autism. Vaccines cause encephalitis, a brain swelling event. Their brain got so big in their head, they screamed like bloody murder for 3 days straight. I didn't know what was going on. And when their brain finally came back to normal size, they had left my house before that vaccine saying, I love you, Mommy. I love you, Daddy. I didn't know those were the last words I was ever going to hear. I can't tell you how many thousands of times I've heard that story. Thousands and thousands and thousands. And there it is. If it can injure your brain, which it does, and they admit, then it can have any kind of symptom. Autism is a symptom. Tourette's is a symptom of a brain injury. ADHD is a small symptom of a light brain injury. Why are we doing this to our kids and knowing it? It's absolutely insane. And here we go. Lest you shall surely die. U.S. has the highest first-day infant mortality of the industrialized world, CBS. Next. American kids are 70% more likely to die before adulthood than kids in other rich countries. Wow, that's great. A new study ranks 20 wealthy countries on childhood deaths. The U.S. comes in last. Why are we celebrating how great our hospital system is? All the doctors. I was just reading how Minnesota is one of the big healthcare empires of the world, and they suck at it. This is why I started my nonprofit, the Informed Consent Action Network. I wanted to investigate every vaccine. I wanted scientists from around the world and lawyers, and we were going to sue, which we did. You can't sue a manufacturer because this product is so amazing, it needs liability protection. So that you can, if it kills you or hurts you or injures you, you can't get near the manufacturer. You can't sue the doctor. You can't sue the hospital. That's how much they believe in this product. So I hired a constitutional attorney and we started suing the government, winning. CDC, NIH, FDA, HHS. I wouldn't be here. There would be no point to be giving these talks for the last 8 or 9 years if we had the healthiest children in the world. Why would we be talking about it? Be like, what is it with vaccines? I'll tell you what it is. We are so sick. Back in 1986, we were getting 11 vaccines. At that same time over here in 1986, our chronic disease rate was 12.8%, either a neurological disorder or an autoimmune disease. Then we took away liability. Now you don't have to do a safety study because you'll never be sued. Tell me this. You all run companies. If you had a government agency said, we're never going to sue you, shh, don't tell anybody, you can't be sued. Do you keep doing all your R&D and safety tests? No, you say put it out on the market. Who cares? We can't be sued. Or even better, we don't have to advertise because the government's going to force every kid to take our product. Woo-hoo! Yeah! Suddenly the schedule jumps to 54 vaccines by 2017, and so does our chronic disease rate. More than half of our children are permanently sick. We have traded, and I'm looking out at this audience, many of you had the measles. Was it deadly? How you here? Was it deadly? Can everyone that had measles please stand up right now, just out of curiosity? How the hell are you here? How did we do this? How did we survive? Oh my God. By the way, live as long as you can because you are the only herd immunity we have on this country right now. You're it. We're counting on you. Because our vaccine program has not eradicated disease, it's eradicated herd immunity. You need 3, 4, 5, even more as we lose more and more people that have natural lifelong immunity. This vaccine program is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So at the same time we watch this cataclysmic change, our nonprofit has proved this. Not a single childhood vaccine has ever been tested in a placebo-based trial, ever, prior to licensure. Every single one of them is rushed on the market. They are not going through gold standard testing. Not like any drug. Grandpa's Viagra, that needed a 10-year safety test. Not your child's Hep B vaccine, 5 days. You know how long the polio vaccine was tried for? 48 hours. 48-hour follow-up period. Yep, put it on the market, it's ready to go. I am not making this up. That is a fact. But it doesn't mean that they won't stay on the news and keep lying to you. This is the guy they keep bringing out right now, today. Just a couple of weeks ago, Robert Kennedy Jr. says we've never done a placebo-based trial on any of the childhood vaccines. This guy appeared on CNN, MSNBC. I have a whole database that proves that's wrong. Luckily for him, we got him against my lawyer, Aaron, under oath in the Senate, and here we go!
We documented 661 trials using inert placebo controls. We confirmed that all 16 antigens routinely recommended for children have been studied in placebo-controlled trials. The claim that childhood vaccines haven't been tested against placebos is demonstrably false.
But when you actually drill down into those 661 trials, let me give you the breakdown of them, okay? 567 of these trials were not a routine injected vaccine for a disease on the CDC's childhood schedule. So totally irrelevant to the safety of routine injected childhood vaccines. The remaining 94 studies, 70 of them did not involve healthy children. Again, completely irrelevant to the safety of childhood vaccines. Of the remaining 24, 21 did not involve a US licensed vaccine. That leaves us with 3 studies, 3, that were claimed to have a inert control that were relied upon to license a routine injected childhood vaccine out of this entire list of 661. And these actually help really highlight the problem we have in terms of assessing safety. One was a trial for the chickenpox vaccine, the varicella vaccine. It was only a few hundred people, so it was underpowered anyway. But Dr. Scott says it's got an inert control, but actually it was an injection of neomycin, an antibiotic. That's not inert. The second one was Gardasil 4 trial, which had thousands and thousands of girls and women in the control group. Almost all of them got an aluminum adjuvant injection. And then there were a few hundred, only a few hundred, that were labeled as a inert control, but they weren't. They got everything that's in the vial except for the antigens and the alum, which included L-histidine, sorbate 80, sodium borate, yeast protein, not inert. And then the third one was a Gardasil 9 trial, which finally, by the way, did have a saline injection. The few hundred that got the placebo, but they only got it if they first got 3 doses of Gardasil 4. So again, not an actual inert control group. The result is there's 0 trials, 0, which were relied upon in this list of 61 to license a routine injected vaccine on the CDC schedule that included a placebo, as well as 0 trials of a vaccine used as a control to license a routine injection vaccine on the CDC schedule.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if you went through all 661 trials. We haven't even conducted the full analysis yet. But once
I think Mr. Siri, kind of has.
You should join our team. Yeah.
You see, he's got a pretty crack team doing that.
Yeah.
If you let me make the decisions, I'll join your team.
Part of what I want to do today, if I do nothing else, I'm really tired of you all talking about they, this all-powerful they that are controlling your minds and taking over the world. They are a pack of morons. I'm telling you, they're the dumbest people I've ever met. I mean, think about it. You show up for a Senate hearing with 661 studies, none of which have anything to do with the childhood schedule. How do you think that's going to work out for you? Did you never have a debate class? And by the way, once you're getting your ass kicked in the middle of that debate, where did you learn that the final answer should be, I don't know how you did that and read that, because we haven't even read the information I gave you. I'm not done, though. I'm not done. I'm running out of time. Forget Jake Scott. This woman literally is on the advisory board for most of your vaccine trials. She is in the vaccine space. She's also one of the co-authors on the Bible of vaccines. So when you hear there's a mountain of evidence that vaccines don't cause autism, well, once again, God gave us one little mustard seed to move. We got a call. There's a case around autism. They're bringing in the second biggest expert in the world, Catherine Edwards, to testify that vaccines clearly do not cause autism, and she has all of the science. I called Erin. Erin, go get her. Go get her. Watch this.
According to your profile, you have done most of the pivotal trials relied upon to license many of the vaccines, correct, on the market?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're highly experienced at conducting clinical trials, correct?
I'm highly experienced conducting clinical trials.
And you're familiar with many of the clinical trials that relied upon to license many of the vaccines currently on the market, correct?
I am.
In your opinion, did the clinical trials relied upon to license the vaccines that Yates received, many of which are still on the market today, were they designed to rule out that the vaccine causes autism?
No. You've badgered me into answering the question the way you want me to, but I think that that's probably the answer.
Is that your accurate and truthful testimony?
Yes.
In the expert disclosures for this case, it asserts that, among other things, you will testify that, quote, the issue of whether vaccines cause autism has been thoroughly researched and rejected, end quote. It's your testimony that MMR vaccine cannot cause autism.
That's correct.
It's your testimony that Hep B vaccine cannot cause autism.
That's correct.
It's your testimony that IPOL cannot cause autism.
Yes.
It's your testimony that HIV vaccine cannot cause autism.
Yes.
Your testimony that varicella vaccine cannot cause autism?
Yes.
It's your testimony that Prevnar vaccine cannot cause autism?
Yes.
And it's your testimony that DTaP vaccine cannot cause autism?
Yes.
And you have a study that supports that DTaP doesn't cause autism?
I do not have a study that DTaP causes autism, so I don't have either.
Do you have any study one way or another of whether IPOL causes autism?
No, I do not, sir.
Do you have any study one way or another of whether NGRX B causes autism?
I do not have any evidence that it causes autism, nor that it does not.
And what about HIV titers vaccine? Any evidence one way or another of whether it causes autism?
No.
And what about Prevnar vaccine? Any evidence one way or another?
No, sir. No, sir.
And how about varicella vaccine? Let me just finish. Are there any studies one way or another that support whether it does or doesn't cause autism?
Part of MMR, but not as varicella by itself. No, sir. No studies that say it does, or no studies that say it doesn't.
Right. There have been studies that have found an association between hepatitis B vaccine and autism, correct?
Not studies that I feel are credible.
Okay. Which study are you referring to when you say that?
Well, why don't you show me the study, and then I'll see whether I agree with it.
It's funny, but you should be enraged. You should be enraged This woman's higher qualified than Sanjay Gupta, who tells you there's been mountains of studies showing that vaccines don't cause autism. This is the second highest rated scientist in the world on vaccines that showed up for a court case to be under oath to prove unequivocally that vaccines do not cause autism. And when we listed it out, there wasn't a mountain. There wasn't a molehill. There was nothing. This is the greatest fraud of all times. Put scientists under oath and they'll tell you 0 studies have shown vaccines don't cause autism. I've got nothing but bravado because I expected when I showed up in this courtroom that I'd be wearing my white coat and the whole jury would just go, okay, we believe you. We believe you. I don't know why that didn't happen. It happened up until about 7 years ago when we started kicking their ass. All right, I got one more. This is the godfather of the vaccine program. And the reason why we think it's so important to win back the religious exemption, which we did win back from Mississippi last year. They're now going to school, don't need a vaccine. We're going to win in West Virginia. We are in court right now. I'm telling you, West Virginia is going to turn. We're bringing back the religious exemption. And you want to talk about this cult. You want to talk about Eye of Newt and Toad of Frog or whatever that they're making out of these things. How about the DNA of dead babies injected into your own children?
In your work related to vaccines, how many fetuses have been part of that work?
My own personal work, 2.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked Plaintiff's Exhibit 41. Okay? Are you familiar with this article, Dr. Plotkin?
Yes.
Okay. Are you listed as an author on this article?
Yes.
This study took place at the Wistar Institute, correct?
Yes.
You were at the Wistar Institute, correct?
Yes.
How many fetuses were used in the study described in this article?
Yeah, 76.
76.
Mm-hmm.
And these fetuses were all 3 months or older when aborted, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And these were all normally developed fetuses, correct?
Yes.
What organs did you harvest from these fetuses?
Well, I didn't personally harvest any, but a whole range of tissues were harvested by co-workers.
Okay. And these pieces were then cut up into little pieces, right?
Yes.
And they were cultured?
Yes.
Okay. Some of the pieces of the fetuses were pituitary gland that were chopped up into pieces to okay, included the lung of the fetuses?
Yes.
Okay, included the skin?
Yes.
Kidney?
Yes.
Spleen?
Yes.
Heart?
Yes.
And tongue?
I don't recall, but yeah, probably yes.
Are you aware that one of the objections to vaccination by the plaintiff in this case is the inclusion of aborted fetal tissue in the development of vaccines and the fact that it's actually part of the ingredients of vaccines?
Yeah, I'm aware of those objections. The Catholic Church has actually issued a document on that which says that individuals who need the vaccine should receive the vaccines regardless of the fact, and that I think it implies that I am the individual who will go to hell because of the use of aborted tissues, which I am glad to do.
Okay. You have said that, quote, vaccination is always under attack by religious zealots who believe that the will of God includes death and disease?
Yes.
You stand by that statement?
I absolutely do.
Okay. Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay.
We can get on microphones and tell you our opinions. As That's why I'm a journalist. I'm not telling you my opinion. I'm showing you. That guy designed the childhood vaccine program, all 72, growing towards 100 vaccines for your children. Aborted fetal cell lines are being injected into your children. Who knows if they were male or female? Would that matter? Maybe want to look into that. But there's also monkey kidneys, worm cells, other animals, aluminum, polysorbate 80. I don't know how they ever got away with making us believe that somehow vaccines were perfectly safe while drugs you should watch out, because there's nothing more dangerous than what's in vaccines. Nothing. They're horrific. And our kids are showing it. 57% chronic disease. Bobby just announced for the CDC numbers, 76.4% chronic illness across America. Lest you shall surely die. What will you have to see? What will that warning sign have to be for you to listen to all these great experts that have come up here and saying, your body was made perfect and you are destroying it because of this sick, twisted cult that you're a part of. You must walk away. Not part of it, not partly. You have to walk completely away. Move to the light, please, soon. I'm out of time, so let me skip through. You knew you went through the coronavirus where they tried to lock you down. They told you this.
This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you. So tonight,
I'm going to force you all to vaccinate, to be a part of our cult. Thank God for this guy. A true warrior. I was lucky enough to meet him in 2022. He called me and said, Del, I'm thinking of running for president. Will you help me? The greatest honor of my life was being his director of communications as he ran for president. I'm going to skip his speech, unfortunately. I hope you watch it online. But this is one of the greatest moments in American political history. That moment right there is the only reason we have a choice. And I don't care if you're a Democrat. I was a Democrat my whole life. I'm so happy this happened. Oh, my God. I'm so happy. Thank God. God is good. And when I was standing in the Oval Office, when Bobby put his hand on that Bible, all I thought was God was good. God is good. We never imagined this was possible. When I started this journey, when I was looking at that mountain, all anyone said to me, Del, you're crazy. Pharma owns everything. It owns our television. It owns our government. You're never going to be able to do anything against it. But we were hiding in the shadows. We were hiding from the press. I said, no. I'm getting out in front of the press. I want all the negative ads I can get. I want all the negative headlines I can get, because finally we'll be talking about it, and then we will change the world. Each step along the way, I just keep doing what's right in front of me. I do not predict any of this. I had no idea we would get Stanley Plotkin on the stand. I had no idea we'd get Catherine Edwards on the stand. I had no idea Robert Kennedy Jr. could go all the way to the White House and work at HHS in the most powerful health position in the world. All I knew was I was being asked to be a part of it, and I said, yes, absolutely, no matter what, I'm there. No matter what, I will do that. I will keep saying yes. God, I will say yes. I don't know how I'll find the time, but I will say yes, 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 and yes. So back in 2016 when I was on tour with Vaxxed, someone said, I know the head of infectious disease at Henry Ford Health, one of the biggest medical research centers in the world. Would you like to meet him? I said, sure. I'd love that. We sat down to dinner. He said to me, I don't really know what I'm doing here, but we have a mutual friend. He says, but I did watch your movie. It's compelling, Vax, it's a compelling movie. He says, but there's something you've been saying as you're traveling around the country that I found bothersome. You keep saying in all these videos, they've never done the proper science to say that vaccines are safe. So I sit on the biggest databases in the world, and I went and researched that. And he said, and I'm shocked that I have to sit across from this table and tell you you're right. That's what he said. Got to hand it to him. You're right. I can't believe we've never done any safety studies to prove safety prior to putting these products on the market. He said, no, that doesn't mean they're not safe. It just means we can't say they're safe based on science. That's all I've ever said. So anyway, he ended up doing a vax versus unvax study because I asked him to. I said, well, if you want to get to the bottom of this, I'll challenge you. If vaccines are safe, you should be able to prove it. Take your database, compare the vaccinated to the completely unvaccinated, which is something we've been asking every single health agency in the world to do, and show us that the vaccinated are healthier. Sure, I would do that, he said. He ended up doing it. It was done in 2020. And even though he promised no matter what would happen, he would release it, he didn't. And I hounded him, and I tried to get it published. And ultimately, I took hidden cameras with me for a final dinner with him because I wanted to hear from his mouth, what are you afraid of? Why aren't you publishing this? I'm glad I did, because we've received a cease and desist letter from Henry Ford Health accusing us in this film of defamation. Pretty big charge, by the way. This is their own writing on their own website. Henry Ford Health, a nationally recognized academic medical center and research institution, has issued a cease and desist letter to the makers of an upcoming documentary that falsely and dangerously claims the health system suppressed a draft of a research paper because of its results. The health system also condemns the purposeful twisting of information, the spread of disinformation happening on the topic, which poses a direct threat to public health. I remember when we got this, I called my lawyer and said, I'm going to read the letter on the show, on the high wire. He's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I was like, no. I'm all about transparency. God has put us here for a reason, and the people need to know the truth. And by the way, defamation comes down to, is it my opinion? Am I lying on purpose? All of those types of things. But really, in Michigan, it comes down to, what is the evidence of my opinion? Well, we hadn't put out the trailer yet of the footage that I had. So when I said, this is Henry Ford's letter, saying that I'm misrepresenting the facts, only one problem for them. I took hidden cameras to talk to the head of infectious disease from their hospital and the lead author on this study, and here's what he said.
We are now the sickest country in the world.
It is now believed that over 54% of our kids have a permanent chronic disease. Shouldn't we look closest at the one product designed to alter our immune system for life? There'd be one easy study to rule it out, the vaccinated versus unvaccinated study.
As fate would have it, Dell met Marcus Servos.
He agreed to do a vaxxed versus unvaxxed study.
Kids that are vaccinated, it doesn't look so good.
4.47 times the amount.
5.5 times risk.
6 times increase.
Amongst the unvaccinated group, there were 0.
Like, if this is true, this is devastating.
And it needs to be published.
This is information the public should have had in 2020, and I forced the issue.
Do you see how Ford responded? They said this report was not published because it did not meet the rigorous scientific standards we demand as a premier medical research institution.
They have forced our hand. We're going to have to show them the footage.
I'm going to bring hidden cameras and recording equipment so that no matter what happens at this dinner, I can prove it happened.
Good to see you.
What do you think about the study you guys have done?
Well, I think it's a good study, but it does have limitations.
Do you find any flaws in the study? I mean, is there a way they could do the study better?
Not that I put it out just how it is. I don't want to say it's not the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do, but I just don't want to. Somebody's going to come back and they're going to say, the study is flawed.
The unpublished Henry Ford analysis is fundamentally flawed.
How about looking at this as important scientific information that can inform how the proper study should be done when you take them like that? And then I can say, because there's a political agenda to it.
Is what your study shows, is it important?
Yeah, it is important. I'm not going to do it.
If I can't get the study out, then what hope is there for every kid in the future? I said to you, if you do this study, you're going to come under fire. You said, I don't care about that. I'm all about the data, and I'm about to retire anyway. That's literally what you said.
Yeah.
So your energy has definitely changed on that. But
energy's changing. Publishing something like that, might as well retire. I'd be finished.
This is an inconvenient study for the entire vaccine agenda.
Are you ready to do it again? How many helped make Vax the hit that swept the world? We're going to do it again. Tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at aninconvenientstudy.com, we will begin streaming this live for free. Share it with everyone you know. I want Henry Ford to know you cared. Big time. I'm racing out as soon as I finish this talk to hop in the car to get to the airport, because tomorrow morning we're going to premiere at the Malibu Film Festival, which is a great honor, and I'm looking forward to that. Mountains are moving. Many of the people that bless this stage today, you could sit there and be in awe of them, or you could recognize that they're just people. We're just people. We're just people that had an opportunity. We felt something speaking to us say, forget about all of your fear, step forward. The reason we're talking about God is not to try. You're going to find your own way to your own spiritual life. But when you walk up to me and you say, how are you so brave, Del? Are you afraid for your life? No, because I have God. And when you read the Bible, one of the interesting things I think that's there is when Moses is up on the mountain and he wants to go back to the children of Israel, and he says, who am I supposed to say has sent me? What is your name? It doesn't say God. It doesn't say Jehovah. He says, I am. Tell them I am has sent you. I don't know what this means, but I'll tell you what it means for me. It means that I can't talk about anything that God is not a part of. And when we've said never take the Lord's name in vain, is it possible it means this? Can God be sick? Can God be afraid? Say his name with me. Who is powerful? Again, who is powerful? Who is healthy? Who is going to change the world? That's right. And so it be done. I love you. Thank you.